Well, it's everything football. It's Monday, and Matt and I are here. Matthew, I gotta say, there was some crazy things going on both on Saturday and then again on Sunday. What are your thoughts from the first from the weekend? We'll start with the college.
College. I was surprised by the fight that Florida gave on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
To be quite honest with you, I was surprised that was really, you look up at the start of the fourth quarter and it's still a ball game. That felt like it was good for them, but it spoke more to their defense than their offense. And I was also surprised at the amount of griping that came from Auburn fans over the weekend. I
Mm-hmm.
get it. Some calls didn't go their way. But Ben, you have a lead in the fourth quarter. Like you can complain about the calls on earlier in the game all you want to. Matter of the fact is, you have a lead in the fourth quarter. You can be as upset as you want to, but you got to go win that ball game.
Right, and to be honest, it's watching the Gators play this year. When we talk about the defense has kept them in every game. I mean, to be honest, look at how many times have you seen? Was it DJ threw at LSU threw what 4 interceptions in that game?
Five. I
Five
think.
interceptions in that game, and they only scored 20 points.
Yep.
So defensively, they've been there. The problem is you had an offensive coordinator who's the head coach who can't seem to get things done.
Yeah.
They did what they could, but you can't. The pressure's on the defense every time they go out there. They keep looking up at the scoreboard, and there's no points there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good your defense is if your offense can't score points. Like eventually your defense can be fantastic, one of the best in the country. But if you're not able to score points on the other side of the football, eventually you're putting a lot more stress on that defense because they keep having to go out there and they're accumulating more snaps. They're going to break eventually if you're not able to put something together on the offensive side of the football.
Right, and with a Miami offensive line that is just, they just beat the living daylights out of you. So,
yeah, one of the best offensive lines in the country, if not the best.
And Miami, of course, has oystered that defense, which I guess is the reason why they're the number 2 team in the country right now behind Ohio State.
Interesting move, just because, you watch that Florida game and you can talk about Florida's defense and it was really good. But at the same time, Miami didn't look fantastic on offense. And like I said, you give some credit to the Florida defense for that. Some of it was just them stopping themselves, though. Carson Beck making some poor decisions throwing the football. He only threw for 160 yards. He was 17 of 30, 160 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. All of their scoring came on the ground. So that's a problem in terms of looking down the line.
Mm-hmm.
It was a rain game, so if you want to attribute some of that to the weather conditions, then be my guest. But there was still some very questionable decision making from Carson Beck on Saturday, and also his arm looked a little like the interception that he threw when he threw it across the middle. It looked like it didn't have the same juice that maybe his throws normally do.
I think I'm going to give Carson Beck the benefit of the doubt. Quarterbacks have days when they can't hit the broadside of a barn, and we've seen in 3 games this year that Carson Beck's been pretty sharp.
He has.
He didn't have it on. He didn't have it on Saturday, but his defense bailed him out, and so that and the fact the Gators didn't put up the numbers, so he can get away with that. He can't get away with that again, but he can get away with it this time. And they've got a week off to prepare for Florida State, so that should be helpful to them. Because frankly, I don't see. I don't know unless you see somebody that I don't. I don't see anybody in the ACC that's equal to taking them out, other than perhaps Florida State.
Yeah, maybe Georgia Tech.
Maybe. I mean, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to disrespect Georgia Tech.
They didn't look, absolutely fantastic, and I'm gonna be reluctant to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyways. from a pure talent standpoint alone, like if you're just looking at the guys, where they came from, everything like that, Clemson has the horses to beat Miami. They look awful this year, and I'm not expecting a turnaround. In the same way that Florida looks awful, but Florida still has like the horses in the stable. If they can get the right jockey on the horse, then eventually they'll win some races. But right now, the guys in charge are not getting the job done. And what I will say, like on Saturday, well, actually, I'd like to turn to Friday if we can.
Okay, sure.
And what happened in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State got beat by Tulsa. That's it. I think it's the nail in the coffin for Mike Gundy's time in Stillwater. I just don't see any other way around it. You started 1-2, and you've given up, but you have the resources to build a successful program there. And they just Mike Gundy is just. To be honest with you, I don't know what happened. He had him in the Big 12 title game back in, what was that, 2021, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like 6 inches away from probably going to the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
They come up short, and since then everything's been downhill in Stillwater. And to be honest, I just don't get it. I don't know what the change was that where everything just started to trend downwards. Because they were that close, and Oklahoma State's a good program, and they've got enough resources that they're pouring into the program that you should be in a much better spot than they currently are sitting.
Absolutely. And the other thing, since we're talking Big 12, how about Texas Tech? You don't go into Utah and beat them around like they did.
No, you do
that's not a bad Utah football team.
No, it's not. And not only did they beat them around, they beat them around with the backup quarterback for a majority of the second half. Like Baron Morton left the game, and you couldn't tell. Will Hammond threw 3 less passes for 27 more yards, 2 touchdowns. Baron Morton threw 2 picks. The backup played better than Baron Morton did.
Yeah.
Not only did they not miss a step, they got better when Will Hammond came into the football game. That was impressive. And, I mean, you want to talk about a team that the reason that I picked Utah is because I said I'm weary on teams that are built through the portal, especially early.
Sure.
They nailed it. They nailed the portal through and through. You check out the receivers that were scoring touchdowns, portal additions. Reggie Virgil, I know he was a portal guy. I'm fairly certain Caleb Douglas was a portal guy.
Yeah, it was.
And then you go over to the defensive line, and I mean pretty much that entire front four was made up of portal guys. I know Skylar Gill-Howard came from NIU last year. Romello Height came from Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
It's a team that has just they nailed it. It wasn't like they were just going and pulling the second stringers off of Georgia and Bama and places like that. They went out to some of these smaller schools. I struggle to say that Georgia Tech, obviously not a smaller school, but they go out to these programs like Reggie Virgil, the wide receiver, came from Miami of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
These guys they picked the cream of the crop coming from the non-P4 schools, and they just put it all together. And they dominated. The defensive line dominated Utah up front on Saturday.
Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of people were skeptical, right, at the money they spent,
mm-hmm.
and was it going to be the return on the investment? Was it going to be there?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you can. I don't think you can say right now that A, the money was not well spent, and B, that they're not getting a return on investment.
Yeah, and for everybody that loves the SEC and the Big Ten because of the product that they produce,
mm-hmm.
it's the most interesting conference to watch throughout the entirety of this season in terms of if you just want to see close football games pretty much every time and
mm-hmm.
a tight race for who's going to make the title game. The Big 12 is going to be where you're looking. it feels like you've got some front runners, but at the same time, those front runners aren't like that far out in front of the other teams. Like Arizona State plays TCU this weekend, and
Right.
that's a massive game on a Friday that could, determine pole position throughout the entirety of the Big 12 race throughout the year. And I mean, the same thing happened on Saturday when you have Baylor and Arizona State playing, and you have Texas Tech and Utah. Like every weekend matters for these teams because no one is like, oh my God, this much better than everybody else. It feels like they're all like there's a tier of, 5 or 6 teams that are just on the same plane and they all have the same chance.
Well, in UCF, pasted North Carolina. Now,
yeah,
I wouldn't take that to the bank, but I'm just saying, to your point, that their teams are playing at a great level at this point.
Yeah, they're doing like it. It may be just like top to bottom, the most like quality matchup conference week in and week out. Just like the bottom's not all that much lower than the top. It's honestly fascinating because like Kansas is 3-1. They beat the crap out of West Virginia, who beat Pitt last weekend. By the way, like one of the better ACC teams, people thought. It's honestly like it's impressive to watch. They did well. I say the ACC took another hit with Cal losing 34-0 to San Diego State too late Saturday night. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, it was it was something. I mean, at the same time, 90 miles up the road, USC, puts 45 more points on the board, against Michigan State. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I thought better of Cal, but
I did too.
But unfortunately, they couldn't play. Stanford came across the country and had a tough time, at Virginia. Maryland's undefeated. How did that happen? That was a surprise to go up there and they win a game at Camp Randall.
And now you're looking like Luke Fickell's now starting to be like that seat's getting warm up there in Wisconsin now. Because he's 2-2, but the 2 wins are Middle Tennessee and Miami of Ohio. Like that's and you get pounded by Alabama, and then Maryland comes in and beats you soundly at home too.
Right.
Also, I think it was a little bit of a like hey, hey, this Wisconsin team's not very good. So things that you thought you learned about Alabama doesn't mean you necessarily didn't learn them.
Right.
Ty Simpson still looked really good against Wisconsin 2 weeks ago, and the receivers and everything, like things clicked. That's good. But it wasn't like some new test that Alabama had to pass against Wisconsin. Like everybody was like, oh, like they're back. They're fully back. Like I don't put a lot of merit into that result. I'm not saying that they're like not good or anything, but I don't think you learned as much as people thought they learned from that Wisconsin game a couple weeks ago.
No, and I think that for Maryland, it was a great win because anytime you get an opportunity to to go on the road from Maryland's standpoint and win, I mean that's a good day.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like their quarterback looks really good right now. Like he's a true freshman, I believe, and he's playing fantastic so far. He's really the main reason they're 4-0.
And they're not there's not a lot of household names on that roster. They certainly don't have a lot of 4-star, 5-star players, but they went out.
Go ahead. Running back to Indiana, Roman Hemby. They lost he was their lead back last year. He's in Indiana now.
They were able to come up and pick out a guy and bring him in and put together some pretty darn good some pretty darn good players. And you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah. These more middle tier schools,
Mm-hmm.
when they hit on their quarterback in this portal era,
Right.
when these schools have hit on their quarterbacks, it can propel you so much higher, because like having a quarterback that is like a significant grade above everybody else's quarterback
Mm-hmm.
mean all the difference in the world, and the most level playing field talent wise that college football's seen.
Right. And that's what an amazing year it has been there. I'm looking forward to, frankly, um, this weekend in Penn State and Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually contemplating um, grabbing the you know jumping in the car and going the 2 hour drive up to college to State College.
Yeah.
That I think is going to be so whiteout, and
Yeah, the whiteout.
it's going to be a wild time um, there in there now. There at State College. Oof. I love. I mean, we've talked about what Dan Lanning's done. This is supposedly James Franklin's best team. Um, and the interesting part is Oregon has come across country and done well. I mean, they went to Ohio State, they beat them. I mean, they have not had problems, as sometimes happens when West Coast teams come east. They haven't had those issues, and I'm very interested in seeing how this one plays out. To me, this one is a really, it to me is the marquee matchup of the weekend, this coming weekend.
Yeah, I do wonder coming into this week. You said that they've come across the country and played well, and they have.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if this is a week where kind of their travel catches up to you, because it's one thing to go once, like that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But they went to Northwestern, and then they came back, and now they're going back to the East Coast. Like they're bouncing back and forth.
Right. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wonder if that bounce back and forth is going to catch up with them this weekend. That I think it helps them being in a night game though. Like I think if they had to come back out here and play at noon again,
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Fox had picked that up for the big noon kickoff.
Right.
That would have been horrible for Oregon. But I think they catch a little bit of a break, the fact that it's a night game.
I think part of the scheduling situation, if I'm not mistaken, at least in people I've spoken to at the level at the conference level, have said that one of the things they're trying to do is to keep people from having to West Coast and East Coast teams
Mm-hmm.
to not have to travel across country and play at a big noon game.
Well, you say that they're doing it. They're doing it to a team you talked about it just a minute ago, USC. USC was up at Purdue 2 weeks ago, came back home, played Michigan State this past weekend. Now they're going up to Champaign, Illinois, and they're playing at noon. Big noon kickoff on Fox.
Right.
Against an Illinois team that just got, I mean, I'm not even, I don't know the correct adjective to describe what happened in Bloomington this past weekend to Illinois. Like that, there is none. That like they got destroyed, and quite frankly, nothing short of a shocking manner by Indiana. That was eye-opening, I think, to say the least, for me, who thought that Indiana was going to take a step back this year after making the playoff last year. I was proved as wrong can be.
Well, you can't. I guess the one thing that Indiana had, I think, a point to prove, and they did it. I mean, they said, all right, you don't believe that we're this good? Okay, fine. Here's our opportunity. So I think I think he's done a really good job there. And I think that's the key point there is that they've done really everything they can do to to make this thing work, and they've done fantastic.
Yeah, and like because I want to give Indiana.
They didn't fall. I mean, they didn't seem to fall off, which is good for them.
No, Indiana deserves all the credit in the world. It does make me question a little bit, like just like I had a certain perception of Illinois going into the weekend, and I think that perception's changed a little bit just because, like, I mean, how could it not when you lose by 53 points?
Yeah, no.
100%. So it's like it's going to be interesting this weekend because I believe in Brett Bielema and what he's done, but man, I mean, you're licking your wounds coming back home, and now you've got a really good USC offense after you just had 63 put on you, and you suffered some injuries in that game as well.
Right.
I think people may point to this and say, well, for USC, this may be like a little bit of a trap game. Going to Illinois just got man, Illinois got to get they got to find a way to get up off the mat and play again this weekend.
Well, and the thing is that one thing that has happened, at least I didn't catch the whole game, but I got some of the SC game because it was pretty late at night on Saturday.
Yeah.
Was that they absolutely 100% played a really good, solid offense, but they got behind. I mean, they played from behind twice in that game. I mean, the score doesn't reflect it, but they had some issues, but came through and did well. So, I don't think it's a trap game as much as it is, can SC come back, across country and play that game and win.
Yeah, and based on what we saw,
they have the talent to do it, but I'm just saying, do they have the fortitude to make that? That's a tough trip.
Yeah, and I mean, based off what we saw this weekend, I think that's really the biggest hurdle that USC is going to face because Illinois' defense didn't provide a lot of stop. Like they couldn't stop anything on Saturday against Indiana. And I mean, you give Lincoln Riley that kind of tape, a week headed into this game. Like their offense, USC's offense is going to be able to score points.
Yep.
Against that Illinois defense that gave up 63. I don't think Illinois has the offense to match it. To just like based off what they've shown us, they haven't. When they beat Duke as soundly as they beat Duke because they won the turnover battle soundly. Like if Illinois doesn't turn USC over 3 times, then I don't think this is going to be a game.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean, it's going to have we're going to have a lot of crazy in this situation. I don't know what to think of Rick Neuheisel over the weekend said that it is conceivable and actually quite possible that UCLA could lose as many as 50 to 60 kids in the portal. That's basically the team. I mean, but what they got going on out there in Westwood is a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it'd be the first time that a mass exodus. Got things twisted up there.
Yeah,
mass exodus has happened like this. Like,
oh no.
Like you can look around the country and see some bad places and see players leaving en masse. I think North Carolina, when they fired Mac Brown,
they lost a ton of people.
Yeah, they lost so many people. Like what was the number? They've got like 70 new kids this year. But I mean, that's the way football works now. That's gonna happen,
right?
And I mean, quite frankly, if I'm a UCLA fan, who cares? Like so what?
You haven't done me any favors.
They aren't winning your football games, so they aren't getting the job done. Get worst case in like I think the way I would frame it is like if you lose that many kids, so what? Because it's not going down anymore from here.
Right.
Like you're at the bottom for UCLA. This is rock bottom.
Right.
They can only go up from here. They now, I see stuff talking about their higher ups, like their AD and stuff like that, and how that's a big issue for them. And I can't change that. But even if the AD does stay, if they get the right guy in there and they hit on a couple of portal guys, they can go back to being a competitive football team again. Like the windows for rebuilding a program have gotten shorter in the transfer portal, I think, because of how drastically you can overhaul a roster.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to be honest with you. I think that UCLA has had a big problem. I mean, look, Chip Kelly is about as competitive a guy as there is on the planet. Okay,
Yeah.
When Chip Kelly leaves UCLA to go to a coordinator's job at Ohio State, that tells you something right there. That tells you that athletic department is not giving him what he needs to win, or he's given up on the fact that they are never going to pay attention to what he needs.
Yeah.
And that's not you can say all you want to about Chip, but Chip is a winning coach. And you let Chip get out of town because he's pissed off at the athletic director because they just aren't doing what they need to do to win. That's a problem. And I think that's where Chip is, right? I mean, not Chip. I think that UCLA is going to have to prove to the rest of the football world that they are either serious or they're not going to have that program's going to languish for years.
Yeah, I think it's not just football though. Like
no, it's the whole thing. Yeah.
Basketball is suffering too. They were in the Final Four. I know they were in it in 2020. They had a pretty good team in 21, but man, recently, like these last couple of years, their basketball's fallen off. And same head coach, Mick Cronin's still there. Like, it's clearly resource.
He didn't suddenly forget how to coach.
Yeah, like that doesn't happen. It's like if Georgia cut all of the recruiting budget in half, and then Kirby Smart starts losing football games. Like, well, he's lost it. No, he didn't lose it. He just lost his recruiting budget. Like these guys just don't. If you don't just forget how to coach, like that doesn't just happen overnight. Especially not in a sport like basketball, where the rosters are the size that they are. So UCLA's got a problem. They've got a real big problem in football. Obviously, they've got a problem in basketball, but it clearly stems from the top. And I don't think things are really going to fully change. We talked about it with the NFL ownership, how you have to have continuity from the top to the bottom. Same thing in college sports, man. Your AD's got to believe in you. You got to be able to get the resources that you need in order to succeed in college. And right now they don't have that at UCLA.
Yeah, as we're speaking, down at USF, Rob Higgins is being installed as the first in college history, the first position in college history of CEO of athletics. And I talked to Rob the other day for a quick minute, and his situation is that he went in there and said, "Look, we're going to have to run this like a professional organization, and if you're buying into that, I'm happy to go with it."
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what we're seeing, and we're seeing this in some other colleges where they are they're not using the term athletic director anymore. They're using the term, general manager and that sort of thing. And you do need that. You do need somebody who understands how to run a professional business, sports business. And that, I think, is where, the future lies in college, is that, these are now professional businesses. They have to be run as a professional business. And you're the CEO of not just and you and I've spoken about this before. They're not the CEO of just football. They're
Mm-hmm.
the CEO of 27, in some cases, 27, 28 sports.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of things to keep track of.
Yeah, it is.
So, I think that UCLA, it's not like they don't have the wherewithal to do it. It's what the uh, president and the rest of the gang um, in the hierarchy of the university thinks about how do we proceed with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that part of it is because um, they're paying calimony is what is being called out there. Um, they're part of the university system, so systemically, it's not just if like UCLA's president said, this is what we want to do, and we're on board with this. They have to go to the Board of Regents for the state of California to get this done. So there's a lot of political aspects, and I don't mean this political meaning, you know, Governor Newsom and all that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
talking about political in the sense of the Board of Regents to get things done. And so we'll see if they can get that done. They should be able to do it. Cal seemed to be, to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see how things go down in Los Angeles. But it's sad for a program that should be better, but it's not.
It's sad for the Rose Bowl too. Like they play
Mhm,
their games in that historic stadium, and they just every time there's a UCLA home game, they bring shame to what is probably the best venue in college football when it
mhm,
comes to a bowl game. Also, if this tells you the state of the UCLA program, they're going on the road this week.
mhm.
Northwestern, they are almost a touchdown underdog against Northwestern.
That's just
So
that's sad. That is absolutely sad.
it's
Yeah, and it's preventable.
mhm.
Which well, we'll just wait by our phones and see if anybody out there calls us. But at this point, we will see. But okay, let's downshift and go over to the NFL. And what the heck happened? I didn't get to see it, so I don't know. But what the heck happened to the Falcons?
I mean, they were talking about it on the broadcast, and the announcer said, you got to be able to take the good and throw out the bad. And I was sitting there as he said that. I thought, what good? Like there was no good for Atlanta on Sunday. Like it
Mhm.
was terrible. You get shut out by the Carolina Panthers, which not to shade them in any way, but they're
Right.
not ready to compete for big
No.
stuff. Like they're not going to be in the playoff hunt come year's end. You expect to be in the playoff hunt come year's end. The
Mhm.
way you've built your roster, and you show up and you toss an egg up there. And what was I think Michael Penix's worst professional football game? Like it was some of the decisions he made. Like I don't know if their jerseys were blending in with like the stadium siding or something. Like I don't know what his issue was, but he threw two picks. One of them was like it was late in the game. Things already weren't looking very good. And he goes through his progression and he feels the heat. And so he just flips his hip and goes to check it down to his running back.
Mhm.
And there's a DB waiting right there, but he didn't look for the DB. He just threw it anticipating there being no one out there in the flat with him,
Right.
right to him, pick six, easy touchdown. And then a drive or two later, they drove down the field. Obviously, at that point, they couldn't have field goals. Like field goals weren't going to do you any good. So they're
Right.
going for it on fourth down. And man, on fourth down, he throws it straight to another DB. And they're lucky that he didn't house that one. It was Bijan Robinson did not have the same type of game, which I wonder if that's not a big issue. Like Bijan averaged 5.5 yards a carry. That
Right.
should be good enough. It wasn't on Sunday, which was kind of shocking, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
The fact that 5.5 yards a carry isn't enough of a running game to really settle you into the passing offense, but it
Right.
was like he looked incredibly uncomfortable on Sunday.
Mhm.
Something that you just haven't seen from him really yet in any of his professional starts.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're a young quarterback, and you know, Caroline has given some grief to. They gave some grief last year to the Bucks. They gave some grief to the Cowboys. I mean, the
They
Carolina
did it to
has
Atlanta
shown,
last year too.
yeah. So there's some teams you just don't match up against, but
Mhm.
30-0 just doesn't seem right. I mean
Yeah,
that just didn't seem. I didn't watch the game, so I can't tell you, but
and
it
like
just seemed, and it wasn't that bad at halftime, was it?
it was they were down. I think they were down like 10 at halftime or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 10 or 13. No,
Yeah.
it's still very much unreachable. But I mean, you go down the stat sheet. Bryce Young threw for 121 yards, didn't throw for a touchdown. The leading rusher had 73 yards. He averaged just over 4 yards a carry,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 110 total yards on the ground. Like, you amass a little over 200 total yards
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of the football, and you win by 30. Like, like that's
Whoa.
it's incredible because it wasn't like Carolina played like this fantastic and perfect football game. They
Right.
muffed a punt on their 25, and Atlanta missed the field goal. Atlanta missed two field goals actually. Just when they thought their kicking troubles were over, man, the who is it, Romo that came in?
Yeah.
Parker
Mm-hmm.
Romo is his name.
Right.
0 for 2. Parker Romo's 0 for 2 on Sunday.
Wow.
So, you cut Young Wei Koo. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Parker Romo. He's doing a
What
fantastic.
exactly good do that do for you?
Yeah. So it's just like there's special teams is bad when your special teams is bad. Like it's the same thing about the defense. Like, yeah, your defense is their defense honestly played fairly well. Like I told you, just over 200 yards. But when you're
Mm-hmm.
turning the ball over the way that they turn the ball over, it's just not going to work.
No,
It
and
doesn't matter.
no, you're right, and it's in a situation like this when you've got a young quarterback who just had a clueless kind of game. It was a very interesting situation.
Mhm.
Speaking of same situation, the interesting situation, you look at the Chicago Bears and the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Browns beating the Packers was like I looked up at that game and it was like halftime, and I think it was like 3-0 at half. Green Bay was on top,
Mm-hmm.
and what I that was the score. Looking at it now, and going back to what I said on it was either Thursday or Friday. I said this is kind of like a pick your score game for
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay, and that's what it felt like because it felt like 3 points was going to be enough to win the Packers the football game with how good their defense was.
Right.
And then they came back and they got a touchdown. They're up 10-0. You're like, yeah, okay. Like the offense doesn't look good, but yeah, they're going to get out of here with like a 10, maybe Cleveland will get a field goal 10-3 victory, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then Cleveland storms back, like in 13 points in the fourth quarter. And then what we talked about with Florida is like, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. If your offense doesn't give them anything all game and they just keep getting grinded on, like this is the NFL. Like, yeah, the Browns are bad, but it was inside of a touchdown spread for a reason. You can get the Browns. The Browns. I mean, credit to them. Like to get shut out for 3 quarters and then rip off 13 in the fourth.
Joe Flacco.
Yeah, that's tremendous resilience, just like mentally,
Right.
be able to come back and pull that off. And for Green Bay, it's got to be deflating. Like a game that you just felt like you had won, and
Mm-hmm.
then you missed it. I can't remember if they missed the field goal or they had it blocked, but Green Bay had a field goal that they did not convert on. And then the Browns turn around and, they go make a long one and walk them off. But it's like that doesn't make you feel good if you're Green Bay because you feel like you should be 3-0 right now instead you're 2-1.
Yeah. The other thing, uh, you just mentioned it. The the I I don't know how many. I watched a lot of games, flipping back and forth and trying to keep track of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yesterday, I can't remember a time when I saw so many blocked field goals in one day.
Oh yeah, the Eagles blocked two. The
Yeah,
Jets blocked one. Those are just the three that come up to the top of my head. I think there was more, to be honest.
there were 6.
Yeah, and to pair that with all the you go to the Falcons, they were 0 for 2. They missed them. They didn't get them blocked. They just missed them. There was a bunch of missed field goals too yesterday. The kicking in the NFL is just it's in a really weird spot right now. I can't remember it being like this anytime recently. With all the kicks that are getting blocked and just the sheer amount of misses.
Well, and you get that in that Philadelphia game. Not only do you block it, you got a 300-pound lineman who takes it back to the house.
Mm-hmm. And that was going back to Jordan Davis has long since been from his time at Georgia. He was a really big guy, and you knew that on first and second down, he was going to do a great job, and you could play a light box because of the people that he was going to eat up in terms of the run game and how much better your run defense is just by his presence in the middle. But then this offseason, he went out and he lost I think he lost 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And he talked about how much better he felt coming into the season and stuff like that. And you could see it because he made a play on Sunday too where he chased down Matt Stafford. You can see his conditioning. And, if he comes on and Jalen Carter gets back to that same form that he was at last year, that the interior of the Eagles line, they've won games. They found ways to win games. And they're going to keep getting better. And I think that would be scary for most teams in the NFL is the Eagles feel like they're gettable right now, and it feels like they're going to be less gettable as the season goes on.
Yeah. And he played a heck of a game. And you just sit there and go, wow, this is very impressive. They didn't, obviously they didn't need it because that was it. But for him to take it back and, that was
upset a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Well, yeah, suddenly they covered.
Yeah.
It's like so you're wondering if he had a bookie in the family. It's like that's that was pretty wild.
Yeah, a handful of bad beats this weekend. I know that there was in the Western Kentucky game, there was an onside kick. All Western Kentucky had to do was get the onside, fall on it, ball game over.
Right.
Kick the onside, Western Kentucky picks it up, runs it back for a touchdown. Western Kentucky covers. There was a few of them this weekend like that.
Where you go, wait a minute here.
You're like, all right, it's at a point where you're, if you've got one side of it, you're sitting back, you're like, all right, this thing's in the bag. The other side, you're praying for a miracle, and those miracles came this weekend, whether it be the NFL or college.
Yeah, and you're sitting there going, that's crazy. We talked about Arkansas and Memphis on Friday, and Memphis wins the game. Arkansas for 2 straight weeks fumbles the ball inside the 10-yard line with less than a minute to play.
Yeah, it's one where it feels like, and I don't like calling for guys' jobs, especially not Sam Pittman's job.
Right, sure.
But that one feels like it, losing that football game feels like it's not. I don't think it's anything that's going to happen this week necessarily, but that kind of feels like it's probably it for Sam Pittman in Arkansas. Just the way they lost that game,
right? And it's not his fault.
Yeah, it's not, but it's not his fault. But at the same time, when you're looking up at it and you have the lead that Arkansas had in that game,
yeah,
I forget what lead they had going. Let's see if I can see.
They had 20 points. They were up by 20 points.
Yeah, they were up. Let's see here. Yeah, 20. I think it was at one point it was 28-17, and I think it was 28-10 before that. I don't think Memphis had that touchdown until later in the second half. Yeah, it was 28-10 at one point. That's a football game that you win if you're Arkansas. That you have to win if you're Arkansas. You can't be up 18 points and against Memphis,
right,
and not come away with that win. But you give up a touchdown drive in 1 minute in the first half, and now it's 11. poorly managed game, and it just feels like it. Arkansas is in a hard spot, I think, when it comes to where they're at as a program. Like, because they're not at a resource place where they're going to be able to like compete with the top tier of the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a tough sell of a job, to be honest with you, if Sam Pittman does get fired.
Yeah, I mean it's an SEC job. Okay, it's a
Yeah,
power job, so somebody will take it. The
yeah,
key are the is it's really, and I think this is often overlooked. And you and I have spoken many times about the coordinators, right? It's not the head coach, the hiring.
hmm,
It's the budget that they give the head coach to hire his assistants.
yeah,
That's where things get a little wacky, right?
yeah,
Because what the you may give a head coach 5, 6, 8, $10 million, right?
hmm,
But if you turn around and say your budget for hiring of other coaches is like less than $5 million,
yeah,
which is you're not going to get. I mean, staffs in college football now, you're talking 15, 20 coaches.
hmm, yeah. And like I think a really good example of that is Texas Tech, because they highlighted it. It felt like just about every time Texas Tech was on the football field with the football,
Mm-hmm.
that Joey McGuire is the CEO of that team.
Right.
Like he's made it very clear. Like he is there to build and take the temperature of the team in the locker room and create a culture. Like he's not in there to call plays at all whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
That is purely on his coordinators, and he is fully in a roster building, maintaining, and culture building and maintaining role
Right.
at Texas Tech. And that like it's a winning formula at Texas Tech. That's what you kind of are looking for now in today's day and age. Unless you can get, there are certain guys you can get to where you're comfortable with them calling plays. I think of Lane Kiffin as one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Freeze is doing a fine job, and Brent Venables is doing a good job calling the plays there as well on the
Mm-hmm.
side of the football. But you kind of want those guys that are like, because those guys that I listed are few and far between. Because for every one of those guys, there's a Billy Napier that's calling plays, and you're just like sitting there clawing your eyes out, wondering what the heck are we doing? Why is this guy calling plays? We are in a terrible spot right now.
Well, and to your point, the the guys you just named off, right? They were coordinators and coordinators for champion teams.
Mm-hmm.
Billy Napier isn't one of those guys,
Yeah.
and others that are doing it and not doing it well are also are not guys that come to mind as, oh, these are the greatest you know play callers of all time. They're
Mm-hmm.
not. And so suddenly you're in a situation where you've got people who don't know what they're doing things they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you like those coordinator roles, and like I think the hit rate on like good coordinators that are
Mhm.
in the system for like Lane Kiffin was at Alabama for a very long time,
Right.
and Alabama's offense was fantastic. He's done a really good job. Steve Sarkisian was at Alabama for a
Hmm.
few years. He did a very good job while he's at Alabama. Kirby Smart did a fantastic job while at Alabama.
Hmm.
Ryan Day, when he was there under Urban Meyer,
Right.
after Urban retired, everybody took it over. So, like he's done a really good job there too. Like those high level coordinators. Dan Lanning is another guy that I think
Yeah.
of, in terms of that.
You
Fran Brown
said
does a good job.
you mentioned him earlier, Brent Venables.
Yeah, like all of these guys are high level coordinators
Hmm.
at these jobs. But the problem is that those high level coordinators are waiting for certain jobs. So like as an
Hmm.
Arkansas, it's going to be really hard to get. Like the ones that come to mind now are like I think of Jim Knowles at Penn State. I don't
Hmm.
because he was Ohio State's defensive coordinator last year,
Right.
and I don't know, if he would like have a desire to be a head coach.
Right.
He's a guy that could get away with it. Glenn Schumann at Georgia right now, who's their defensive
Mhm.
coordinator, he could get away with it. Like there's a handful of guys that you would look at, but those guys aren't sitting around waiting for Arkansas to open up. They're
No,
the ones that are sitting around waiting for the jobs like Florida to open up.
right. Because I mean, they're paying people like at Florida are paying, and not just Florida, but other top schools. They're paying the kind of cash that that you expect for um, you expect to have for a head coach in some cases.
Yeah. Yeah. It like Dave Aranda, I think, is another guy who was
Oh yeah, Dave's good. Yeah.
he did a really good job. Now he's at Baylor, and he's done a pretty good job there too.
Mm-hmm.
But finding these guys, nailing the head coaching search, I think, in terms of like athletic departments, is harder than it's ever been. Just because, aside from like getting the right guy, you kind of like it. Maybe you get the right guy, but the right guy's got to get the job done immediately. Like there's no longer a grace period of waiting. And I think, like, I saw it on Twitter on Saturday. Somebody was talking about, it was a Michigan State fan that was talking about, like, complaining basically of where Michigan State is under Jonathan Smith in
Mm-hmm.
year two of Jonathan Smith. And everybody's like, hey, like, give him some time. And they're like, well, what about Kurt Signetti? It's like, okay, like he's a one of one, like one,
Right.
like you're not getting a Kurt Signetti. Like
No.
that's pure luck that Indiana found him,
Mm-hmm.
and he is hit in the way that they hit on him. Like you're not going to find that again. It doesn't matter where you go in the country.
No. And the other part of it, and it's just, and you know this as well as I do, the other part of this is that you also have to have, you got to have infrastructure to get that deal done, and they had it, and it worked out. I mean, same way they did at Arizona State. I mean, there was an infrastructure waiting for this to happen.
Yep.
It wasn't just like, oh well, wow, look what just happened. We just had the all this hit for us. Well, no, it didn't. These things don't happen by happenstance.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. It's not like Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. Fantastic example of like they found the right guy, but they'd invested in the program. Like they'd invested in football. They'd made a stronger investment into football. Like Vanderbilt didn't, Clark Lee didn't come wave a magic wand and all of a sudden Vanderbilt's better at football. Like they had the right infrastructure. They went out and they hired a guy from one of the recruiting services. I think it was from 24/7. I think he was like the director of recruiting,
right,
or something like that. And they went out and hired him as like their general manager of player personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that, and then you hire Clark Lee, and you give these guys these budgets, and you pour more of the resources in, and bam, now you've got a winner. But it's not just like, well, we're one hire away, because you aren't always one hire away. No matter where your program's at, you're not always one hire away.
No, and the other thing too is you're not just one hire away. You're also normally you're worried about now with NIL and with the amount of money that you can bring in. The person who you bring in has to be a name that can help you go out and raise money.
Mm-hmm. And I think a strategy that you see working, it feels like it's working better since the transfer portal era, is these guys that are going to their alma maters.
Yep.
Like Brent Key, Kenny Dillingham, we talked about it. Brent Venables back at his alma mater. Like these guys that are at their alma mater, because they can sell it. Like in terms of recruiting, they can sell that school better than anybody else from the outside, because they've been there, they've lived it, they know the pluses, they know the downsides. You can go into somebody's home and lie to them, but that's not going to get you very far eventually because it's at a certain point they're going to realize, oh, well, this guy's full of shit. Like he's coming in here and selling us a fallacy here. So these guys fit. It's part of the reason why I think like Jed Fish did a really good job at Arizona, and he's doing a decent job right now at Washington. But I think he's a fascinating like guy on the board when they're talking about a potential Florida coaching search because he's a Florida guy. Like I like those alma mater fits better than I think they ever would have mattered in the past. Because like in the past, who cares? You bring a guy in and he can recruit. That's all that matters. But now you're appealing to more than just the recruits.
Well, the other thing is that they have a working knowledge and a good working knowledge of exactly the area they're recruiting.
Yeah.
I can go, it's the old, I know, you can sit there and go, oh man, I can remember when so-and-so was the head coach back, talking about high schools now. I can remember when so-and-so was the head coach there, or, and there's that kind of really strong connection that you don't have if somebody comes up from, if Urban Meyer, came to Florida, well, his luck was he had two guys who really did a great job of knowing the region and were able to help him, recruit.
Yeah.
And I think there's where I think that's what was probably his best attribute in that regard.
And I think like it's something that I think people, when it gets brought up, everybody always seems to say like it's overrated. But man, these guys that aren't from the SEC footprint taking SEC jobs, they don't have a good track record. Just overall, they just don't. Like because most of them come in and they've done it a certain way, and they've got their guys that also generally aren't from the SEC as well. And when you build your staff out with those guys, it's almost impossible to recruit the footprint you're in. Almost impossible. Like Urban Meyer, that's the reason that he was successful. Brian Harsin, horrible job. Kalen DeBoer has had to have help from Nick Saban with recruiting coming into this season. Like these guys aren't just like rolling in, and they've got it figured out because they don't. Like they have to have that recruiting base. And you can maybe say it's overblown or whatever, but it's not. Like it is that important.
Yeah, and it's look, we can sit here all day about it and talk about what what should happen, what shouldn't happen, how it should happen, and how what's going on. But at the end of the day, you've got to have some sort of connection, and that makes it really interesting situation. Well, we got about 5 minutes left, and I think since we aren't going to be back until Thursday, I did want to get your feeling on. I mean, we talk a lot about football, and we're going to talk a lot about golf coming up here this weekend. But there's something else that we're going to talk about, and that is today the Cincinnati Reds and the New York Mets are dead even in that race for the last spot in the wild card, with the Arizona Diamondbacks just a game back. 6 games to play, boys and girls, and it's going to be a wild finish there. And of course, you've got all that crazy going on over in the National League, where you've got the Astros and the Mariners that are in the midst of trying to battle it out for the the West. You've got Detroit starting a series tonight in Cleveland, where they could end up losing the division there, and you've got the wild card races. Yeah. So it's if you're a baseball fan, this is going to be a heck of a week.
Yeah, fantastic wild card race. You said the Diamondbacks are a game back, and I think they did very good to get there. Their next 2 series against the Dodgers and Padres.
Oh yeah,
wish them luck.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll work
Godspeed.
out.
Yes.
But I would not cross my fingers on the Arizona Diamondbacks, having sold at the deadline of all things, being able to backdoor their way into the playoffs. But it's the Mets. You feel like the Mets kind of have to make the playoffs. Like after signing Juan Soto and that big offseason that they had, they have to make the playoffs.
There's no question. I mean, this was a team that everybody and their grandmother was getting sold. Oh yeah, they're like waltzing into the National League East Championship. Well, somebody forgot to mention that to the Phillies.
Yeah, the biggest divisional race discrepancy was the NL East.
Right.
Like the Phillies were the first to lock up their division, and that's ridiculous.
Well, people can forget. I mean, I know you're a Red Sox fan, so you know this, but people kept sleeping on the Jays. I mean, the Jays have what? They've been in first place since right around the All-Star break.
Yeah, they have, and they've. I will say, looking at their recent games, they were scuffling a little bit. They lost a couple series in a row here. They lost one to the Royals. They lost one to or did they lose one? No, they split.
Not the Royals. No,
they split one with the Rays.
Right.
So they've been prior to that they were playing pretty good baseball, but these last couple series they haven't been doing as well. But now it's this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the Blue Jays feels like it's kind of it. Because they've got the Red Sox coming to town for those 3 games, and after that, the Tampa Bay Rays are coming to town. The Rays, not like they're going to roll over or anything, but in terms of where they're at right now, the Rays are a worse ball club, and so if Toronto were to win that series against the Red Sox, they've got the division locked up. The Yankees would be begging the Red Sox for help because that's what they're going to need in order to win the division. Because the Yankees are playing the White Sox,
right?
You want to talk about an easy finish to the season? Yankees go series with the White Sox, series with the Orioles.
Right.
If you're going to win the division, that's pretty much the spread that you would ask for headed into this final week if you're going to make up 2 games.
Well, I got a kick out of the fact that, frankly, not being a Mets fan, that the Mets came to that the Nationals went to City Park and took 2 games, out of the 3 games at City Park. One of them was a they won it on a 2-run inside the park home run.
Yeah.
And also, then yesterday they scored all 3 runs in the second inning, and their pitching kept the Mets to 2 runs.
Yeah. And I will say, the Mariners have the AL West pretty much locked up. They got a 3-game lead on Houston.
Right.
I'm fairly certain they swept Houston.
They did.
And now they get 3 at home against the Rockies. Your last series against the Dodgers, who cares? You go win those 3 against the Rockies. Series is division's over. Because to be honest with you, I think they'd have to go 0-6 in order to not have that division locked up.
Yeah,
it'd have to be a colossal collapse.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
But you're getting the feel in the wild card. Things are getting the AL really. There's a bunch of teams that can win it in the AL.
Yeah, anybody in that group.
Cleveland's battling Detroit. Houston is still in a wild card spot, which there's only 3 wild card spots, correct?
Right, and 2 of them are already taken.
Yeah. So what? And they have to play 163 if there's a tie, correct?
Nope. It's head-to-head.
It's head-to-head?
Yep.
So it'd be, okay.
We decided not to do it because otherwise they've had the problem with that, and the short story on it is that the Players Association and the team and the division, the league decided not to do it because they expanded. Remember, they expanded the wild card to 3 games.
Yeah.
And so they said, okay, look, that's just going to make it a mess if we have to do that. Then 3 more games, and then it'd be Thanksgiving by the time the World Series would be over.
Yeah.
So no, it's a head-to-head thing.
just in terms of like a team that I would prefer to see if I was in the AL, AL wild card series.
Mm-hmm.
You want Houston to win that wild card spot
Right.
over the second place finisher in the AL Central, because
Mm-hmm.
the second place finisher in the AL Central is either going to be Cleveland, or worse, if Cleveland wins this series, it'll be Detroit. Like
Mm-hmm.
Detroit feels like a worse draw maybe than Cleveland. They're both not fun. Like I don't think anybody wants to play either of those teams.
I wouldn't.
To be honest, like Cleveland, Cleveland rounding into shape is an incredible turnaround. Like
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Like it's what the Tigers did last year.
Well, they've won 12 of the last 15 games.
Yeah, Cleveland did what the Tigers, and they've done it with a negative run differential. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's still -9 in run differential, and they're in a wild card spot. The next closest team is Kansas City, who's 6 games out with a -2 run differential.
I had an enjoyable weekend tuning over and watching a little bit of the Cincinnati Reds beat up on the Cubs. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, the Reds are a fun team to watch,
The Cubs,
and I think the Cubs aren't a bad baseball team either.
I think the Cubs made a mistake at the deadline. Like it felt like this was their window.
Mm-hmm.
Like this kind of felt like it, and man, they didn't add anything at the deadline.
No.
PCA's gotten worse. Like the Cubs going into and like coming out of immediately out of the All-Star break,
Yeah.
felt like man, like this feels like their division in their year. They need some starting pitching. Go out and get some starting pitching, and they went out and got Michael Soroka.
Right.
It wasn't. They didn't give up the pieces they needed to give up to really go on, because like I'm not saying that he won't, but there's a good chance that Kyle Tucker won't be in Chicago next season.
Right.
And that's going to be a big missing piece. This was their window, and I feel like they missed it, because now they've got they're not going to miss the playoffs. That's done. Like they've got their spot locked up, but they play the Mets and the Cardinals, and then you're going into the wild card series where maybe you're the better team, but it's 3 games, and anything can happen in 3 games.
Mm-hmm. Well, that and the other part of the equation is, you've got enough. You're never going to have enough. You want to be peaking at the right time, and the right time may not be for them at this particular time. So
yeah,
we'll have to see.
I mean, that's the only thing that's giving me any mild semblance of hope for the Red Sox, is the fact that they figured out how to score runs in Tampa Bay this weekend.
Right.
It was like, all right, like, hey, we didn't sweep, but we won 2 out of 3, and the offense remembered how to
figure
hit
something out. Yeah.
So,
and this was of course the swan song for the ownership of the Tampa Bay team. So it's it was kind of odd to see people who had for years been not fans of Stu Sternberg, wishing him well. That's kind of the thing where you sit there and go, okay, cool.
yeah.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Oh no! Bye.
Thanks for selling the team. Bye. Yeah. It's like so for one glorious weekend, Stu Sternberg was the toast of the town. That's not going to happen again. But at least he got out of town, and there'll be a new ownership group in there next season.
Well, there you go.
They think they won't have to play any games at Steinbrenner next year. Because they think that the dome will be ready to play again, and they're negotiating on a new building which will be built in Tampa. So,
which is good.
That'll be okay for them.
It is still a minor league ballpark. Like
yeah.
Like there's 2 Yankee stadiums that teams are playing in this year.
Right.
1 Yankee stadium's enough. You don't need 2.
Yeah, one's definitely enough.
That gives you. I know Bob Nutting hates the press that he gets in Pittsburgh. So there you go, Bob. You want some good press, man? Like, sell the team. They'll love you. Like, if you announce at the start of the year that the Pirates are selling the team, I don't know how the timelines and stuff like that work. But
yeah.
Whenever if he ever does that, man, they're gonna sing your praises in Pittsburgh,
Hey,
especially if there's still some semblance of a product left.
yeah, the thing there, and we'll wrap it up here in a minute. But the thing there is, Mark Cuban's tried to buy that team 3 times, and they've not sold it to him. And I don't know if there's the league doesn't want Mark Cuban in there or what, but Mark is a Pittsburgh guy. Mark used to go and watch the games with his brother. They used to love to sit in right field. They had seats at the old at Three Rivers Stadium, and Mark used to go to the games. And
I would
Mark has tried 3 times to buy the team, and in 3 times he's been shut out.
what I would say that would have to fall on the ownership currently, like not wanting to sell. Because if you're the MLB, why would you not want Mark Cuban it as like an owner of one of your teams, especially Pittsburgh? Like Pittsburgh isn't some small market. Like Pittsburgh's a pretty decent sized market that has the bones to be a good organization, and they just don't get investment. And then you get a guy like Mark Cuban, who you'll get a figurehead as an owner, and you'll get a guy that will invest in the team and give you a better product in Pittsburgh. Why would you not want that?
Well, look at, I mean, all you do is go back to the 1960s and 70s when the Pirates and the Reds were having those duels,
Mm-hmm.
at Riverfront. You had the early one, the 71 World Series, where, Roberto Clemente was still alive and the Pirates were there. Then you had the Lumber Company with Stargell and Parker and those guys in '79. I mean, and that entire, from the early '70s to the late '70s, it was pretty much the Reds and the Pirates just duking it out in the, in the playoffs every year.
Mm-hmm. And
And
you've gotten a taste, not like it hasn't been like super recent,
mhm.
but you go back to like what was it, 2010 or 2011, somewhere
Yeah,
in the
when they came, yeah.
2010s, when the Reds were again playing the Pirates in the
Mhm.
playoffs. Cueto was on the mound. That was a fantastic environment back then.
Yeah,
Like Pittsburgh is a really good sports town.
yeah, it is.
They haven't been treated as such in terms of baseball.
No, I mean, look at what they've, hockey and football. My God, you
Yeah.
can't ask for anything better.
Nope.
They've been there. So I don't understand why you wouldn't want Mark, in the business of working with the team to get
Yeah.
to get them over the hump. But
Mhm.
I can't tell you what's going on, because I guarantee you, if they were given the opportunity, people would rush to the, I mean, they had pretty good attendance given the fact of how badly they were being marketed
Yeah.
um, over the years. So even that, and that ballpark is a gorgeous ballpark.
Yeah.
Great place to watch. Great place to watch a game.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, my friend, I appreciate you as always. We will be back on Thursday. I know you're going to get those golf clubs out and get ready for your Ryder Cup practice, and get there, and we'll see how that works out. But that's going to be a lot of fun. And man, we got all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to have football. We're going to have golf. We're going to have baseball this weekend.
Absolutely.
We need the 2-day rest.
Yeah.
And as for all of you out there, I wish you a very happy and healthy New Year, as the Jewish New Year will be entered into later this evening. And we will see you on Thursday. Thank you, as always, Matthew, for coming in and giving us your insight and knowledge. And we greatly appreciate that as well. So to you and your family, very happy and healthy New Year coming up here as well.
Thank you.
All right, gang. We will get out of here and go call Mark Cuban and see if he can get a hold of the Pirates, and hopefully he can get him. All right, everybody, have a good day. Bye. Okay, Matthew.